Hey friends, my name is Lisa Johnston Hancock and I am an illustrator and author and an art teacher. Today I wanted to talk about realistic versus stylized illustrations. So realistic is just what it sounds like. So you might look at something from life or you might look at a photo and you're going to try and draw it exactly how you see it. Well, stylized is you might enhance the eyes a little bit, maybe make them a little bit bigger. You might make the ears a little bit softer. You might have more expressive color. So that's what stylized is, really working within one artist's, working in my style, your style, one artist's style to enhance the expression or something about that character. The book that I'm working on now is one of my books, my debut author illustrated book, Santiago and Great Bear. And one of the main characters is a constellation, the Ursa Major, which is the Great Bear. So I'm looking at a lot of images of bears. And where do I go to find these images? Well, I don't really have a zoo super close to me, but we do have the San Diego Zoo. So I plan to go there and do some journaling soon. But for now, at home in my studio, I'm looking online. So I'm looking at reference images on unsplash.com, which is a royalty-free website. I'm looking on Pinterest, and I usually start there with Pinterest, and I'll make a board with reference images. So you can see this, my Pinterest board behind me, and I'll link to the board. If you want to practice drawing a bear and come back and use these images, you're welcome to. When you use images online, you just don't want to copy them exactly, but making a stylized illustration is not copying the image, you're using it as a reference to create your own style. And that's what you want to do because you don't want to infringe on copyright. Photographers are artists too, and so you don't want to copy their work. So what we're going to do today is we're going to start with reference drawings from black bears. I chose the black bear because to me they seem the most friendly. They're the most common bear. I've seen a black bear in real life. I've never seen other bears in real life, so that's the first one that popped into my head. In real life, I mean out in the wild. I've never seen a grizzly bear in the wild. I've never seen a panda bear in the wild, but I've seen them at zoos. Um, so I'm going to be using these photos to work from, and then I'm going to show you how I would then stylize the bear. Maybe make the ears a little softer, maybe make the eyes a little more simplified. And again, my character is blue, so that's not a realistic color for a bear. All right, so let's go ahead and gather our materials and we will get started. Okay, these are my images that I gathered on my Pinterest board, and I'll have a link in the caption below in case you would like to practice with these. Today I'll be working with my iPad Pro and my Apple Stylus pencil. I'll also be using the Procreate app. I like to use a grayscale palette that I've created in my palettes here. And the brush that I'll be using is a Procreate brush. It's the 6B pencil. I like to have a large size when I'm sketching. And so if you go to Canvas actually, and you go to Canvas information, I can show you what size I'm using. You click on dimensions. It is 4800 by 3000, and you can see how many layers you have and how large your canvas is. Okay, so let's get started. Make sure you have the 6B pencil. And I'm gonna take a look at my reference photo where the bear is sitting up a little bit and one of his arms is kind of hidden. I like to start by using basic shapes, and I start with the head. And I'm right-handed, so I'm drawing on the right side of the page. I draw a circle for the lower half of the body and then connect. And I'm always looking at my photo, I'm always looking back at my paper and trying to find the basic shapes, breaking it down. A good way to get quick proportions in the face is to do a line across, one down the center, whichever way. This bear is looking a little more to his right, so I have a little more to the left. And that'll help you figure out where your eyes go and also where your nose might go. And it just helps you gauge the correct proportions. This is not going to be a photorealistic bear, but I am trying to capture realism here. So that's what I'm going for. Next, I'll look at where the ears are going to go, and I do what's called a directional line. So I just put two little marks where I think the ears are going to go, and then I actually build the form of the ear around that line. And then we'll do the other side. Because the bear is symmetrical, which means it's going to be the same on one side as it is the other. And if a realistic bear, you know, it might be a little bit different. One ear might be a little smaller, but you can make those changes, but for the most part, they are symmetrical. Once you have your lines where you want them to go, you can then start to build the form, make it a little bit stronger. I want to bring out that little hand that's tucked under the foot over here because I think that's really cute. And this little hand that's kind of folded around. If you use your fingers to pinch, you can zoom in and work on the details a little bit. And this is definitely something that you can do on a piece of paper with a pencil also. You don't have to have an iPad and Procreate to do this technique. This is just the way that I work mostly because I started working digitally when I started doing picture book work because I can make changes quicker. I wouldn't say that I necessarily work faster because I'm still putting in a lot of work to develop these characters and have them in the correct poses, etc. But if an editor says, oh, maybe move that bear over to the left a little more, for example, it's much easier and faster for me to do it digitally than having to redraw the whole thing again on another piece of paper. And once you have everything where you want, you can then start to erase the lines that you don't need anymore. Okay, and now I think we're ready to add a little bit of shading. So this is just hatching, if you've never done this before. And what's great about the Apple Stylus is you can use the side of your pencil point like a regular pencil. It's crazy. So you saw me earlier just using the point to get skinny lines. You can also change the size on this sidebar over here on the left. You saw me do that a couple of times. But if you tilt it to the side of the pencil point, it works just like an actual pencil. It's amazing. And you can quickly add some value through hatching. And just like a regular 6B pencil, the more that you layer the hatching marks, and if you do any cross hatching, the lines are going to get darker. It works in a similar way. It's kind of cool. It's kind of neat that you can use a digital pencil and it looks very similar to an actual 6B pencil. Okay, so here is our realistic bear. And so I'm just going to name that layer realistic. And then we're going to create a new layer and name that stylized. And I'll move the realistic bear over to the left a little bit because, again, I'm right-handed. I want to work on the right side of the paper. And then make sure that you've clicked on the stylized layer, and this is the way you would work if you were doing it on an actual piece of paper. So there's other ways you can do this digitally. Like I could make a duplicate layer of that realistic bear and use only the lines that I started with, and then have that to then create my stylized form from. You can totally do that, and I often do that. It's a little bit faster. But I'm doing it this way because if you were working on a real piece of paper, this is the way you would be working, most likely. And also, it's better for your brain, I feel like. You have to work a little bit harder to redraw something again. If you were out in nature in real life, you would be observing the animal that you're looking at. So just think of it that way, that you're observing this animal again and trying to capture that pose in a stylized way. So I'm working the same way that I did before, and now it's almost like muscle memory because I've already drawn it once, so I'm able to recreate the form a little better the second time around. I've already simplified it once, and I've already used this method to get the proportions in the face using my directional lines. Only this time, maybe I'll make the ears a little more rounder. Maybe a little closer together. I don't know, you could play with it. Then maybe I'll make the eyes a little more simplified. And then the same thing when you're looking at the nose. Maybe make the, I think I want to move it down a little more. Yeah, somewhere in there. And then simplify the shapes of the nose part that comes down and the mouth also. You can have a lot of expression in eyebrows, so think about, and animals do kind of have eyebrows, but we don't see it as much. But if you could play with that a little bit, like maybe they're higher, maybe one is down, they might be a little bit angry, have fun with it. And then again, the same thing I did with the realistic drawing, I'm just working on the shape. You can add some little details to the ears, simplify the way that the inside would look. And then start to erase the lines that you don't need. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is if you hold down the eraser button and then click on your brush, you can actually have the eraser the same brush as the brush that you're using. Well, why would you want to do that? Well, the reason you want to do that is because when you're drawing, you want it to look a certain way, and then if you want to erase, you want it to look like the brush that you're drawing with, if that makes sense, so that you can have those same soft edges that you have when you're sketching or when you're hatching. I just thought it would be cute to add a few little leaves and grassy things around the bear. All right, let's erase a few more of the lines. And that makes it look a little bit softer too. Really, the more lines you have, the more harder or realistic it makes it look. So if you want to soften the details of the character, you can have less lines. And let's add a little bit of value to our stylized bear also. Using the side of the pencil, I'll just do a little bit of hatching, give him a little bit of value. Okay, I'm just going to finish up the last few hatching details. This is our realistic versus stylized bear. I hope you try this at home and let's see what you come up with. Thanks for watching.